Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Bear Elite Project, how the heck are you? There is a province in China, bigger than Texas, that ran for an entire week on renewable energy. I think that's pretty cool. Now, I also want to share with you the global consumption, the breakdown in different countries, and what would it take for the U.S. to do the same thing? What would it take for Texas to go full-on solar and wind for a week, for a month, for a year, in perpetuity, until they allow other energy sources to be available to us that are more efficient than solar and wind? Especially in places like Texas, solar's genius. And I find it interesting that in certain countries and areas that would be prime for solar energy, they use coal, petroleum, etc., nuclear for the most part. So let me just read this to you real quick. This is from Dominique Mospergen, HuffPost. It's also available on Yahoo News. While the U.S. is dealing with environmental issues, a growing number of cabinet officials out themselves as climate deniers. China continues to make waves as an emerging leader in this space. Yeah, but they also do the exact opposite when you look at cities like Beijing that you can't even walk in without feeling like you're being, raided. Chinese state media announced this week that the sprawling province of Qinghai, or Qinghai, in the country's northwest, had run for 7 consecutive days entirely on renewable energy. The province, which is larger than Texas, relied only on wind, solar, and hydroelectric from June 17th to the 23rd, reported Xinhua. These renewable energy sources reportedly provided Xinhai and its population of 5.8 million with 1.1 billion kilowatt hours of electricity, equal to about 535,000 tons of coal. That's a lot of coal. That's a lot of land being consumed for energy. Now, I think that when you look at areas that are ranked, countries that are ranked with the amount of energy they produce via solar, there's a great article, Business Insider. This one came out last year. And let me read these to you real quick. So Germany leads the way. And Germany's a pretty mellow country when it comes to solar, the amount of sun that's in that area. I mean, it reminds me of a lot of the Northwest, Seattle kind of, just because of the weather, the climate. It's overcast a lot, rains a lot, doesn't get real hot. You would think places in the Middle East that get a lot more sun would do more solar, yet I guess it's more efficient for them to just suck the lifeblood out of the earth and say, it doesn't matter because we've got 50 years, we've got 60 years, we've got 80 years till we need to worry about anything, whatever. But Germany is producing 38,250 megawatts. China, 28,330 megawatts. Japan, 23.4. Italy's got 18,600 megawatts. The U.S. is coming in at 5th at 18,317. Then you've got France, Spain, Australia, Belgium, and South Korea coming in at 10th at 2,398 megawatts. Now think about all the money that our countries spend, our country and these other countries, on petroleum and sources of fuel, whether it be coal or other primitive aspects, that not only is more expensive in the long run, but also bad on the environment, like really bad, especially long term. Wouldn't it make more sense to put some money into cutting edge solar / wind technologies? You drive through some of these wind mill farms in Texas and they're incredible. Well, why don't you change the entire system to make each city, each block, each house have its own energy source? So it doesn't have to be reliant on a government or a corporation or a specific business. It can produce it itself. And imagine how much more efficient a society would be and how much less prone the entire civilization in that society would be to attack. And if it was attacked, it would be able to withstand it better. It would be a lot more efficient machine, and the sky wouldn't even be the limit. Way above and beyond that. That's the kind of stuff that's going to take people to the next level when you change systems that are designed to suppress the masses and into systems that actually help the masses and break free from these just ancient forms of control. If you don't have, if you've got to rely on an energy source that isn't from within or easily available, you've got to pay for it. You've got to be succumbed to it to deal with your electronics, your Wi-Fi, your hi-fi, your internet, your phone, your light, your fridge, your air conditioning, if you have air conditioning. Now, let's go into the countries by electricity consumption. You look at China. Obviously, there's more people in China than anywhere except for maybe India. Well, here's one thing that is interesting is the population in China is only 107,000 more, a little bit less than 107,000 more people in China than India, and China uses almost 6 times the amount of energy in kilowatt per hour consumption. China comes in number 1 at 5.9 trillion. The U.S. is coming in at 3.9, and we've got a quarter of the population. Then the European Union, then Russia. Then you can scroll down. But one thing that I look at is the average energy per person in the country. China's hitting at about 4,000. And you guys ever gone camping? I mean, let me just kind of put this into perspective. Does anybody own a motorhome? Does anybody have a generator? Then you're going to know you've got a 5 kilowatt generator, 3 kilowatt, 6 kilowatt. If you've got 10 kilowatts of energy, if you've got a solar setup and you're producing 10 kilowatts per hour, you're doing pretty dang good. So you look at these, China, 4,310 kilowatts per hour is the average per capita consumption. The world is at 2,674 kilowatts per hour. The U.S. is up there. It's hitting 12,000 kilowatts per person. So if you're in an RV, even if you've got a real nice one, you've probably got maximum 8 kilowatts. Max. I mean, that's a lot in an RV. Even if you've got a nice Class A $1 million motorhome, if you're running 8 kilowatts in that thing, that's a lot of power. And you don't need that much usually in a motorhome. But if you've got, washer and dryer going, air conditioning, etc., then you're going to want to be running on shore power most of the time, unless your generator's producing plenty of power for you. Now, you've got Japan, which is actually using in between the U.S. and China. But I've noticed that Canada uses more than the U.S. And it's cold out there. I get it. But let's look at some other states here. Like Sweden is right up there with the U.S., uses a little bit more. But here's what's interesting. Norway uses double. Norway's using 24,000 kilowatts per person per hour. So what if they were doing some type of wind, solar, thermal, pulling energy out of the ground in a thermal aspect, like with these solar ponds, not sucking the lifeblood, petroleum, out of the ground. The United Arab Emirates, they're using 16,000 plus kilowatts an hour. Finland, 14,000. Once again, it's real cold in Finland. But here, look at the primary energy consumption share by fuel. You've got 37% running petroleum. How much is nuclear? Was that about 8%? And it's one of the most deadly forms of energy on the planet. Mutant aspects, hardcore, just makes no sense to me. When are we going to break out of this? Seriously. And in closing, Highlander 2, The Quickening. The Highlander 1 was excellent. The second one is pretty good. The third one, I don't know. It's like, how come they kept adding people when he was supposed to be the one, right? Anyway, in Highlander 2, what do? Well, the Highlander, the man, the legend, the way of life, invents something that will protect the Earth. It actually replaces the ozone because guess what? They destroyed the ozone. The ozone got destroyed, so the Highlander came up with a solution. But guess what? The weather stopped. No more rain, nothing. And everybody hated him because of that. But after many years, the ozone healed itself, it repaired itself, and the dome went away. Could that be kind of what's going on right now? Are they doing something similar? I shared with you the information about how optoelectronics and trimethyl aluminum are going hand in hand with new technologies to allow the energy of the sun to go through these, I think it's called photovoltaic cell and other cells, solar cells, and they're using different technologies to harness the energy of the sun. Well, what if they completely cover the atmosphere with some type of nanoparticulate element that would then work in conjunction with the sun and other light sources that come in from different stars and harness that energy, similar to this Highlander effect? And that's why, I brought it before, it doesn't even seem like it's very rare that I see real clouds anymore. And when I say real clouds, I'm talking about the nice puffy clouds. On occasion you'll see them, but it's not that often anymore. And it just seems like more times than not, there's chemical trails the day before, mass amounts of chemical trails, and then you've got these bizarre clouds and overcast still, and it just doesn't feel natural. You can tell something's up. I mean, has the weather been manipulated so much? Is there something around the earth protecting us that they have to blast all these chemicals into the atmosphere now to produce fake weather? And will it heal itself if they have created some type of dome? Or is this just Highlander 2 conspiracy Hollywood woo-woo? Or is there some truth peppered in throughout? What's your take on it, folks? I'd love to hear your opinions. YouTube.com/clandestine Time Lord. Also, leakproject.com. Make sure to support our sponsors. GetTheTea.com. I've been taking this stuff called colostrum, and it is awesome. I mean, this stuff is absolutely incredible. It's helped my food digest better. I have more energy. It's amazing. So check it out. GetTheTea.com. All right, guys. Be excellent to each other. Thank you for being here with me. Be the change you want to see.